Everyone, hi. Bruce Mufson, LCSW, coming at you with another video breakdown from SUNRIDGE, Nevada. Tonight's video is going to be from Kendrick Lamar's latest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and the song is Rich Interlude. A little bit about myself before we get started. I went to the University of Georgia where I got a master's in social work, and after I graduated, I had to do a 2-year internship so I could take the national exam to become a licensed clinical social worker. I've worked with thousands of people from 3 to 83, and I have worked inpatient as well as outpatient and have made thousands of visits to people in their homes. I've also gone into detention facilities, and as a result, I have testified hundreds of times in court to the judge, the ADA, and the public defender on mental health issues regarding both adolescents and adults. In addition, I've done a lot of public speaking, mostly to law enforcement, to understand better how to work with the mentally ill, and to keep my license current, I had to take 36 hours of credits every 2 years. Tonight, again, Rich Interlude from Kendrick Lamar's latest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Here we go. As always, I'm only going to break down the lines that I find clinically significant to give you my perspective. All right, first of all, there's a great use of the piano that rises his intensity as he's reading and speaking. So a great job with the piano, and he's a talented person, obviously. I want to focus on this first line from the spoken word. It goes, "I ain't gonna lie, we were poor, a bunch of lost souls in survival mode. It wasn't no way for us unless we found our own." I want to talk tonight about trauma because that's what I got from this song is in his own way, he's describing the childhood that he had to live. I want to clarify what is trauma in general for a child. And adults that survive childhood trauma may have trouble regulating their emotions as well as have poor memory and low self-esteem. Childhood trauma can also affect an adult's long-term health by leading to addictions, mental health disorders, and chronic illness. Then he goes a little further down. He goes, you know that this type of blank we glorify, everybody gang gang. I get it. When working with so many people who have survived trauma, what happens is you have to try and make sense of it the best way you can. So we say everybody gang gang. You know why you say everybody gang gang? Because you don't know what else to say, and you got to say something to try and explain what has happened to you. Because you know why you don't want to tell the truth? You're afraid to tell the truth. Then it goes like this. Going down, it goes, making ends meet, daddy deadbeat, had to steal for a meal or you can't eat, you know? Poverty, Red Cross food banks WIC. Now look at this blank, we own property. I'm going to break the lines down a little bit further, but I like that sequence at the end of the song. I want to clarify something again about how trauma affects children. An estimated 50% of children in America will experience trauma at some point in their lives. Many will experience it on a recurring level. Adults will often say as an excuse to me, you know what, Bruce? They were young when this happened. They're not going to remember as adults. Wrong. Kids from as early as 18 months to 2 years will tell me memories where something was done to them that they knew instinctively was inappropriate and wrong. And I have had hundreds of people tell me about childhood trauma and how it affected them their entire lives, and they never got over it. Then I want to go with this, number 2. Poverty, Red Cross, the food banks, the WIC. Okay, I want to clarify this too. Today, in 2021, 17 million kids in America go to bed hungry every night. 6 million more since the pandemic. He ends the song by going like this. We own property. It was almost like he's confused. We own property? I went from WIC and food banks, deadbeat daddy, had to steal for a meal, to owning property. I want to clarify, I'm going to break it down a little bit further. I'm going to change property to owning stocks. We're having a 401k, anything, IRA, anything like that. As of 2021, the top 10% of Americans own close to $1 million in stocks. All right. The next 40%, that's half the country now, owned roughly about $132,000 on average. They had that kind of money put away. The bottom half, the last 50%, owes just under 50,000, 55,000. And the number of people that own stocks have gone down significantly from 2007, 66 to 2021, 55%. I'm sorry, 66 to 52. Then I want to look at the question of how many people in America own their own home. Only 60% of Americans own their own home. How many people live in America? About 325 to 340 million. That's a lot of people that don't even own a home. We own property. Impressive. What I want to do now is I want to explain something a little further, okay? I'm going to explain what's called the ACEs questionnaire. It started in 1985 by a doctor in San Diego working for a company, Kaiser Permanente. I'm going to hold it up so people can take a look at it and pull it down online. Give it a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What this does, all right, it's 10 questions. And you put a point for every question that you click onto. So, for instance, when you were growing up your first 18 years of life, it's for people till you're 18. Did a parent in the household, for instance, swear at you, insult you, or act in a way afraid you might be physically hurt? I'm only going to read a couple of the questions because you can get that online and see it. Did a parent and other adult in the household often push, grab, throw something at you? Did you often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought that you were important, were special? I'm just going through these. Did you often feel you didn't have enough to eat? You had to wear dirty clothes. No one to protect you. Were your parents ever separated or divorced? Were you ever repeatedly hit over at least few minutes were threatened with a gun or knife? Did you live with someone who was a problem drinker or alcoholic who used street drugs? Did a household member go to prison? Those are the 10 questions, 4 or 5 of the 10. You rank your score. Every question that applies to you, you put a 1. Here's the thing, 3 or more is considered high. I did mine, I'm about a 3 to 4. So my trauma history was pretty high. And again, forget about looking at people with their skin color, their background, their religion, their ethnicity. It's irrelevant. Trauma affects everybody. And I was affected by it myself. Trauma is real. And I've said before in multiple videos, it affects kids like a cancer. And the problem is, no matter how many surgeries you do, you never quite get it all, and you carry with you to the end of your days. I'm an expert in trauma, and I have compared it to a house that will never work properly. And you know why? Because the foundation, the childhood, is going to be crooked and broken, and no matter how much you take care of the top part of the house, it's always going to be crooked, it's always going to be broken, it's never going to work properly. Your goal as an adult is you have to focus on the need to get your life in order before you have kids. And you have to work on yourself and your issues to define what kind of parent, what kind of role model you're going to be. This is what separates myself from all the other therapists out there. I get to the heart of the matter. I don't want to waste time because I have to teach people to put on mental health body armor so they can at least function somewhat successfully as they get older in life and move on. Let us know via the comments, and we want to hear them. What was the moment you realized or understood that you did come from trauma, and what did you do to get better when you were raising children, when you realized like, whoa, this is not successful, this is not a good idea, and how you moved forward? So in conclusion, stop fooling yourself and think that no one's aware of what's going on and that your kids are clueless about what was done to them. They're not clueless. From a very, very, very early age, they are aware when something is not right. Stop with the excuses and be the parent you need to be, because your kid or kids are going to thank you. Appreciate again, SUNRIDGE, Nevada. Thank you for watching the video, and please send us your comments.